And so I want to talk about how to break into real estate investing and start building your wealth. You know, the majority of millionaires in America got there by being wealthy in real estate. So the other side of the coin here is that maybe you don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of flipping properties or being a property manager and holding all these homes. Well, just be the bank. If you have cash, you can be the hard money. Give it to somebody else with the real estate experience. Get your return on investment and do very little work for it. I do that as well. So let's start there. Let's start there because I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about how to break into flipping real property and buying and holding and just getting into the game. And if you want to talk to me about this off air, you know, if you're thinking about getting into real estate investments, you know, even if you say, you know, hey, Brian, I don't, you know, it's not like I have $250,000 to go out there and buy a rental property. $10,000 will get you into flipping real estate. There are plenty of programs out there that I can tell you about that don't necessitate you needing any money. It's kind of crazy, but it works. It's worked for me on both sides. So if you want to get in contact with me and talk with me about that, my number is 843-400-8009. That's my cell phone. You can call or text me. Obviously, that doesn't have anything to do with the phone number for this program. That's just my personal cell phone, 843-400-8009. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And remember, I'm offering some literature here for those of you interested in investing in real estate. I've got 101 steps to flipping a property, the must-dos and the should-dos when flipping a home, and the ultimate beginner's guide to investing in real estate. So call me, text me, 843-400-8009. You can send an email to brian@brianbeattyteam.com, and I can get you the information that way as well. So let's talk about the financing portion of it first, because then we can get into flipping and buying and holding and all that fun stuff. But several years ago, really 4 years ago, I started to see the market really kind of increase. I saw inventory continuing to go down. Prices were going up. And a lot of investors were in the market. And as more and more investors get into the market and more buyers are purchasing property at top dollar, it makes it harder for the investors to find the properties with a bunch of meat on the bone. You know, the deals from sellers that are willing to sell the property for low prices. And so, you know, before I go any further, I really do need you guys to understand that, you know, obviously my day job is a real estate agent. I help people buy and sell real estate at the best deal possible, getting sellers the most money possible, helping buyers purchase property at the best deal and terms possible. What I'm talking about right now is making money in real estate through real estate investments. So excuse me if I say something like, the lower you can get a property for, the better. I'm not trying to cheat a seller out of money here. I'm trying to grow my real estate portfolio. And if they're going to accept a $50,000 offer on a $100,000 house, that's a huge win. So I just wanted to put that out there because, you know, I don't want there to be any cross lines or cross messages here. So as it relates to financing, let's get back on track. A few years ago, I saw that the market was really just changing at a rapid pace. And so rather than going and fighting for the deals with smaller margins, I said, you know what? I'm going to be the bank. I'll let these other investors come to me and borrow the money, and I'll just make my money on the back end. So I had, you know, this obviously requires cash on hand. And so I would lend cash to investors, and they would pay me a small portion up front, and then they would pay me high interest monthly payments on that loan for a set period of time. And if they didn't sell their home within that set period of time, the interest rate would increase because they are financially incentivized to sell their property. And then once they sell it or once they refinance it into their own name, I get paid off, I get my money back, and I've gotten the profit, which is all profit because there's no expense involved, of earning a little bit of money up front at closing and then earning those monthly interest-only payments. And so a typical deal would go something like this. You find a $100,000 property. I'm going to charge you between 3 and 4 points at closing. A point is equal to 1% of the purchase price. So in this instance, let's say that I charged them 4 points at closing. And then for the first 3 months that they were borrowing money, I was charging them 12% interest. And then after 3 months, I was charging them 15% interest. So at 4%, obviously I'm getting $4,000 at closing. And then at 12%, I'm getting $1,000 a month. Obviously at $1,500, it goes up a little bit to $1,250 a month. And so let me help you guys better understand that. If you don't have, sums of cash that you can lend to investors, but you have $4,000 plus the ability to pay, some monthly payments on an investment property, you could go and find a property that needs, let's say you buy it for $50,000 and it needs $50,000 worth of work, and you can sell it for $160,000. Follow me on the math here. You borrow $100,000, which is the cost of the house and the cost to renovate it. It's a $100,000 loan. It costs you $4,000 up front, and then it's going to cost you $1,000 a month. Let's say you can flip that property in 3 months. You sell it for $160,000. Well, by the time you back out some commission and some closing costs and the cost of borrowing the money, let's say that number comes out to $140,000. Tell me where else you can go and make $40,000 in 3 months by using $7,000. Those are real examples. I've done it many a time. I used my own money, so I got to save that $7,000, which was the 4% down plus 3 months worth of $1,000 payments. But that's an example of how you get into flipping real estate. You don't need $100,000, you need $7,000. And $7,000 is not a huge sum of money to get into something like flipping real estate.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show.